Natalie, welcome to the Sipping Point. I'm so excited to have you here. I told everybody your amazing background and all about Vintage 414. Today, we're going to talk all things wine from one wine woman to another, but you also sent me 3 amazing wines from South Africa. So I'm excited to explore those with you as well. But the burning question that everyone always wants to know is, how did you get into the wine business?
I was very lucky to have been offered a job at a fine dining restaurant in Talbot County, where you are, when I was 16 years old, 15 or 16 years old, and worked for a phenomenal chef who I'm sure you're familiar with, Chef Stephen Mangafarian. And I was able to start tasting wine, not quite that young, but at a younger age, rinsing and spitting, and just fell in love with flavor in general. I had never even eaten at a fine dining restaurant before I started working in one. So I really send everything is kind of owed to him in the very beginning, because he's really what taught me what true flavor was. Leading on a little bit, as I worked at the Inn at Easton, that's where I met you, and Chef Andrew Evans hired you to do a class with us. And I tell people the jelly bean trick all the time. I mean, especially now as I'm doing weekly tastings, when they're like, how do you pull out these notes? I'll never be able to do that. My biggest thing is just talk about it, and really pay attention to everything you smell, everything you eat, try to make that brain connection. And you did that with the jelly beans and holding your nose when I was very young. So I do appreciate that. I don't think I would be able to pick out pear in any type of white wine if it wasn't for you. So
Perfect.
thank you. But most of my career was spent in fine dining. And then in 2019, I was working at Bistro Poplar. I'd been there 10 years. Chef Ian Campbell decided to, it was pre-COVID, and the pastry chef there, who is now my business partner, Chef Emily Salisbury, we were kind of walking around downtown and realized that there was a wine and beer retail shop with a bar that went up for sale. So we put a bid in on the building, didn't get it for a couple months, but ended up getting it. We actually closed on December 24th of 2019 on the building here. Vintage 414. And then COVID happened. We started spending money between then and March, and then everything was shut down. So it was a little scary. We actually didn't speak to each other for 3 weeks, I think, because we had already spent a chunk of money and didn't know what was going to happen. And finally got down to, well, what do you want to do? And I was like, I don't have anything else planned. Please, I hope you still want to do this. So we did, and we ended up opening in July of 2020. We were only hoping to open in May, so we only pushed back 2 months. There are a lot of silver linings to COVID. We opened at 50% capacity without a bar, so we didn't need a full staff. We were still able to kind of stay in our bubble. And knock on wood, to this day, I still have not had COVID. So we did something
Wow.
right. Yeah.
Absolutely. Oh, wow, that's an amazing story. Yeah, and the fact that you are still going strong here in 2025, given that a lot of restaurants and wine bars like yours didn't make it through that period of time is quite a testament for sure.
Absolutely. I think we fit a true niche that Cambridge needs. And not to knock any of the other liquor stores, but there aren't, I don't believe, any other real liquor stores or wine stores that taste as much as we do. The other good thing is that we're all restaurant people, along with our chef, Colleen. She was classically French trained as well. We're all fine dining restaurant people. So adding retail was a whole another thing to our world. Definitely a lot more time consuming than we expected, but I really feel like my palate has grown immensely in the past 5 years, just because I taste almost every day.
Perfect. So I know people are going to be inspired by that story to maybe create their own wine bar, but even if they just love drinking wine, one of the things I'm curious about, because I have somebody on every week and everybody's telling me it's the summer of this or the summer of that. What is your most favorite grape right now? And then maybe your least?
So right now, most favorite, I think, is a Gruner Veltliner, basically because, well, thank you, Jules, because I have, as you know, I had hers and it's phenomenal. It's delicious. But even the inexpensive Gruners, I have a liter that's $13 a bottle, and it's delicious. You don't have to think a lot about it. There's a lot of fleshy fruit up front, but the finish is almost always crisp. Sometimes there's a little bit of nice salinity as well. I just think they're really easy to drink and versatile when pairing with food too. So that would be
Love
my
that.
favorite grape right now because it does change constantly.
And Gruner is fabulous because it goes with some of those really hard to pair things like asparagus,
Yes.
artichokes, which usually throw everybody for a loop. And yeah, I've been a groovy fan for so many years.
Least favorite, and this, I think I have to tell my reasoning behind it. I have to say Chardonnay. And that's only because there are gorgeous Chardonnays out there, but I think that
Mhm.
there are more crappy Chardonnays out there than gorgeous ones, at least available to me in Cambridge. And people get stuck on liking that one grape, and it drives me insane. There
Yeah.
are so many other grapes that can do what Chardonnay does to food better, and it's just the closed mindedness behind that grape that I think bothers me so much. I mean, I've had some lovely, lovely Chardonnays, obviously, white
Right.
Burgundy.
There you go. I was thinking about this question myself. So, most favorite, I would say, and I'm excited because we're going to taste one here in a minute, that I have been drinking a lot of Chenin Blanc this summer. It's not like it's new to me, of course, whether it's from South Africa, which we're going to explore here now, or Chenin from the Loire Valley in France, which I also love dearly, or even one, made in California. Just kind of fell off the Chenin bandwagon somehow. And this summer, I really kind of have gotten back into it in all of those different styles. I'm excited to be introduced to the one you brought to the table. So that, and I'm drinking more Sauvignon Blanc. I had taken a pause on Sauvignon Blanc, and I'm drinking more of that this summer. So those are two of my faves. Least is Pinot Grigio for me. I'm just kind of over it. Now, that being said, Oregon Pinot Gris, I will drink. That's kind of where I go. But since one of my most favorites is Chenin, I'm so excited you brought one to introduce us to from the store. So what do we have here with the Chenin Blanc?
So this is a Rebec Chenin Blanc. It's $13 a bottle. I don't know how familiar you are, or I know you are, but your guests are with, or listeners are with, when Chenin Blanc came to South Africa, but it was in 1655, and it is the most widely grown white grape there. So the style is a little different from the French and even American, obviously. For me, Chenin Blancs, French, are my favorite, as probably are yours as well. But what I like about them are the true value. You can find gorgeous Chenin Blancs for very inexpensive. This one's only $13 a bottle. I'm actually pouring this by the glass right now because it pairs really nice with our peach and prosciutto flatbread. So this is what we pair with that, yeah.
One of the things I know, they used to call this Steen. So if you ever see Steen on the bottle, that is a Chenin Blanc. It's the same thing. It's just a South African term. But yeah, tell me a little bit about, like, stylistically. I love the price. We're all looking for that great, under 20, under 15, even better bottle of summer white. Tell me about what you love about the taste of this.
So on the nose, I get a little bit of tropical cream. I think it's kind of guava. It is more medium bodied. But yeah, definitely a little bit creamy on the nose, and couldn't necessarily pinpoint, but I think it's guava.
I love the crisp acidity. Yeah, and
Yes.
and the fruit is so expressive on the palate as well. I definitely get that tropical note and that creaminess on the nose. You kind of get a creaminess of texture with this as well.
Especially on the front of the palate for me. It's very creamy, and then the middle kind of leads into almost like the texture of pear before the acid cleans everything up on the finish.
Yes.
For me, I get a little bit of citrus on the finish as well. So pairing wise, like you were saying, probably one of the reasons you like the grape so much is that it's very versatile as well. Off the top of my head, I would want like a lemon herbed chicken would be great with this. You could do almost any summer salad with this as well, or even, I mean, honestly, for me by itself.
Right. I was going to say, I was trying to think, everybody's saying, like, let's talk more about occasions and reasons for drinking specific wines, because people get intimidated by all the aromas and the flavors and, the way we can be really expressive about it. But this is like, you just got off of work. It's summer. You're sitting on the back porch. This is a great place to start. Like, exhale, time for the weekend kind of wine.
Absolutely.
For me. Yeah.
And it's complex when you really think about it, but I think that it's also drinkable enough to where you don't have to think about it, which I don't know how you feel, but sometimes that's the exact kind of wine I'm looking for.
Exactly. I affectionately call some of these porch pounders, if you know what I mean.
Yes. Oh, yeah. They're quaffable porch pounders.
Very quaffable. Your job is really to kind of weed through everything and
Mm-hmm.
find those great bottles for the great price so everybody else doesn't have to. So it's a public
Yes.
service. Thank you,
Yes.
Natalie. And that leads me to a question that we wanted to touch on, which is, does price matter? And of course, we can see here that it doesn't necessarily. I mean, we could have another $13 bottle of wine that wouldn't be nearly as delicious as this, and probably might be one that neither of us would want to drink. We could even have $100 bottle of wine, and it doesn't mean that you're going to love it. So it's about understanding your taste, but also looking for that, the highest quality in that price point.
I agree with you. That $25 price range, that's it right there. If you can go 15 to 25, your experience is going to skyrocket from 9 to 12 for sure. And I agree with you on the, you get up in that 75. I think you probably tasted a lot of really expensive wine. We're like, why? I mean, I would take the $25 bottle any day and enjoy it more. So it does come down to your specific taste, to know what you like.
All right. Well, here's a question that I actually share with people a lot, but now I want to know your answer. What's your death row wine? The wine that you would need to have one more sip of before you go?
See, I feel like death row wine is also the wine that you can keep coming back to and that you want to drink all the time. So right now, because it always changes as we taste more and more, would be Elio Filippino's 2018 Reserva Barolo. Mm-hmm. When my business partner and I tasted it, I think it was three or 4 months ago, we both just looked at each other. It's just such a calming feeling when you taste a wine like that right off the bat. This is all I want to drink for the rest of my life. If that was the only wine I could have the rest of my life, it would be it. If I'm on death row, it would be it. But what's yours?
Well, gosh, we didn't even huddle up on this one beforehand, but mine is also Barolo. If I had to be, I know it's crazy. I also think that's because Barolo was my first aha moment wine, where I was like, I had wines and enjoyed wines, but it was like, wow, this is something altogether different. It's so interesting because you got rose and tar and earthy and fruit all together. But there's a specific one from Aldo Quinterno. It's the Gran Bucia. And I actually got to visit this winery in 2006. I think that also gives it a little bit of an edge because there's a memory there. And the 99, if I could find it again, it would probably be like $1,000 or something at this point.
Man.
But back then, I think it was probably $200. But now we already said price doesn't always matter. But this we're going all out because this is death row. So that would probably be it. A good champagne, a really excellent champagne might be a close second, but got the edge to the Barolo.
See, for me, I feel like champagne is where I want to start. So if I'm on death row, it would just be sad.
I want
to finish with the Barolo.
Yeah, if you had an escape route, then we could do some champagne.
Right, exactly.
Love that. All right, so we're going to taste a rosé that you brought to the table. But right before we get there, I'm wondering what regions, and I guess, we're exploring one right now, but what regions do you feel like are underrated that people need to revisit or maybe change their mindset around?
It's so funny you should ask that because I almost brought it up when you said Pinot Grigio was your least favorite grape, because I tell people all the time, any Italian white except Pinot Grigio. So for me, the Italian white that you've never heard of, and it happens still to me, and I'm sure you all the time, because they, they're all indigenous. They all use the region as their names. I love Fiano. I absolutely love Fiano. To just anything Italian that's white, it's not Pinot Grigio.
There are so many great Italian whites, and you're so right. I love Falanghina, same general area as your Fiano. But if you just look all across Italy, there's so many indigenous grapes and grapes that are native to that area that aren't going to be your, varietals maybe that you're used to, but there's such great value. And, right now, whites and, rosés kind of maybe, taming down a little bit, but whites are outpacing reds as far as what people are consuming, which is crazy, really.
Wow.
Yeah, because for so long, red, was like king. And not that people aren't drinking red wine, but the growth in white wines is so far outpacing red. It's really interesting.
I'd like to think people are thinking out of the box. We just did a Portuguese dinner. And when I was researching the Portuguese wine, and obviously it's summer, so we did 3 Portuguese whites. And it was kind of cool because they're all very indigenous, obviously. They have all these grapes you've never heard of. You don't see them planted anywhere else because they don't grow well everywhere else. And while Italy and France were busy exporting these grapes all over the world, Chile to Napa and growing them, Portugal was kind of like, nah, we're good. We'll do our own thing.
We'll keep it in-house.
Yeah, and I think that they're extremely underrated as well. And especially for us on the Eastern Shore, all of their whites pair so well with seafood, especially crabs. I found like alvareños and just brancos in general pair with steamed crabs, crab cakes alike. They're really good.
I got to go a couple years ago, and everywhere octopus is on the menu, and I love octopus. Just sauteed with, if it's done well. And people, if you think it's rubbery, it's not. You've just never had good octopus.
Right.
But their whites and the octopus, the alvareños are so good. I mean, it's really, really wonderful. So I love that. And, mine might surprise you. I was thinking that while you were speaking that Australia is a region that I absolutely fell in love with when I was first getting into wine. And I actually visited there. This is way back 20 years ago. And I was stricken by how many fabulous wineries and great wines they have over there. A lot of them don't even make it, at the time, make it here to the US. But I think there's a lot of great wine, like the Eden Valley Rieslings out of Australia, Pewsey Vale being one of my favorites, just so good. So take another look at Australia, not the party wines.
Right.
The good stuff.
I agree. We have a Grenache on the shelf right now from Australia that is lovely. And you don't think Grenache Australia at all, but it's delicious, and it's definitely its own style. It doesn't taste like a French or American or even a Spanish Garnacha. It's very unique and delicious. So I agree with you 100%. That's awesome.
Awesome. All right. So speaking of underrated, for many years, people were afraid of this pink stuff, but now we are
Look at that color.
I know. It's so amazing.
It's juicy.
So you brought us this Rustenburg Petit Verdot Rosé. This is so unique. You're right. This pink is so...
It's scary.
It's like a magenta. It's gorgeous.
It's scary.
It's scary. I'm not scared. Tell me about this.
It scared me. It's a 2025, of course. So in South Africa, their harvesting season is earlier. So we're in their 2025 vintage of rosé right now, which is kind of fun and weird if you're not used to it. But I love it because the juice is so fresh and lively. As soon as you barely waft it under your nose. You can smell it.
Yeah, it's got a really expressive nose. I love that.
So
Petit Verdot, this is still unique for South Africa, isn't it?
Yes, it is. I don't believe it's been maybe in the past 20 to 30 years that they started exporting it and growing it there. But,
yeah, so much berry fruit on the nose.
It's all red fruit. Very juicy. I get a little bit of like almost rose water. There's definitely some floral underneath on the nose.
And when you take a sip, really that intensity that you get on the nose follows through on the palate, but it does finish dry. So you have all that fruitiness. There's a lot you can do with this food pairing wise, and I'd love to know how you use this, but it's not sweet. It's not, you think all this fruit, people, this is dry.
No, not at all. So on the palate, I get kind of like a cross between Morello and Bing cherries on the very front because it is very juicy. I say that because Morello tend to be more sour than Bing, but they're very deep and they're both very deep and complex. So that's definitely of the red fruits. That's what sticks out most to me. In the middle, I get a little bit of orange peel, and then again, the acid and the finish is very short and kind of brings it all together. But because the fruit is so forward, 100% anything spicy. First thing that came to mind was Thai food. Definitely. Yeah, I mean, Indian food, even barbecue. If you do pulled pork with a spicy and vinegar sauce, it's going to not only smooth the wine out, but calm the spice down, which I think a lot of people are confused by. They think that you always have to have like a Gewürztraminer or a Riesling when you're doing spicy food, and it's simply not true. Also, like you said, the color looks like it's going to be sweet. It's not sweet at all.
Mm-mm.
Just because we're pulling out these fruit notes doesn't mean it's sweet. It's just juicy.
Now I'm looking at your wine rack behind you there with all these different selections, including these three that we're having during the show. But can people, if they come in to visit you, can they grab any bottle off the shelf and enjoy it while they're there? Or are certain wines for while you're eating there, certain wines for takeaway?
So we do have a wine list. On our wine list, we change seasonally, and we offer 3-ounce, 6-ounce pours, and then, of course, a by-the-bottle price. Our 3-ounce pours are offered for you to build your own tasting, basically. So build your own flight, rather. I'm not telling you this is this flight or that flight. You can talk to me about it, and I'll help you pick from what we have and your palate and what you like, certainly. As far as on the shelf, absolutely. We do offer a corkage fee. So I'm not sure if people understand the difference in retail versus restaurant pricing, but it is quite different, and I'm quite honest about it. Retail pricing can be anywhere from a 35 to a 50% markup. Again, we're in Cambridge, Maryland. We do a straight 35% markup. Restaurant can be anywhere from 300 to 500%. And that's simply because we are washing your dishes, we are waiting on you. It just comes with the price of dining out. So we offer, if you'd like to take something off the shelf and drink it, $15 corkage fee, which really isn't that much if you dine out.
That's very reasonable.
Yeah, I figure I try to take my own bottles to restaurants, so I know that $15 is not much at all.
I think most places around me are 25. And then certainly, if you go to a larger city somewhere, you could see a lot more than that.
Oh, yeah, even 35. And for me, being a restaurant person, it's understandable. The restaurant has to make money off it as well.
Right.
If you want to take it home and wash your own glass, feel free.
Yeah. And I love that, I think some people are confused about the corkage thing. So I love that you bring that up, because you have to check with the restaurant to see if it's allowed, because different counties are different in different states. I think there's some etiquette to it, as far as I'm usually, if it's just me and my husband, going to bring maybe one special bottle. I'm not going to grab a $10 bottle at the grocery store and bring that, but a special bottle. And then I'm probably going to order either a glass of something else or a bottle of something else, depending on, how big of a night it's going to be from the establishment, just because, I think that's just nice.
Same. We always start with a cocktail and end with a digestif. Might have, a bottle that we bring in the middle, or start with a bottle of bubbles that's theirs and then just bring one. But yeah, absolutely. There is definitely an etiquette.
Now, I don't want to get deep into any kind of politics, but I am very curious tariff-wise what's going to happen, because South Africa right now is one of the ones that's still, I think, sitting around 30% tariff potentially, which could, obviously be really detrimental to all these great value wines that we're discovering and want to enjoy. I'm hoping that they get that figured out so we can drink great wine for less. But label wise, I'm going to show this label is kind of a nice, I would say traditional look to it. The old chateau kind of look, the Rustenburg. But then again, we're going to get into a red here in a few, where this is a little more artsy and modern, I guess you would think of it that way. Do people come in and pick out their wine by the label, or what do you think?
Yes, they do. And that being said, I have to say, and I didn't even realize this until just now when you showed the label to me, people ask me all the time, they're like, did you buy this because your name's Natalie? And I'm like,
I was going to ask you that when we got to this wine.
No, and if I thought about that before we picked the wines for this, I wouldn't have done it. No, it's because it's a naturally fermented wine. So we can wait to get into that when we taste it if you want. But as far as labels go, I always tell people, at least in our store, if you see a beautiful label, you can count on the wine being good, because we're not going to pick something because the label's good. We're going to be like, oh my gosh, and I love the label. That's great. If you see a horrible label, please know the wine is good, because we are not going to put up something that is absolutely awful if the wine's not phenomenal. So people do definitely come in. They come up to me, oh my gosh, I picked this out because of the label. And then I try to give them tasty notes on the wine and make sure that that's something they're going to like that matches their palate as well. Overall consumers, I touched on it a little bit. Me, if I were to go into a wine store, I shop by region for myself anyway. And you probably too, something that I haven't seen or haven't tasted in a really long time. not everybody's afforded that knowledge. So I think a lot of people do shop by label.
Yeah, I mean, I said, hey, if you want to do it, it's great. Sometimes it's going to work, sometimes it's not going to work. I mean, that's all there is to it. And, the cutesy names, the labels, it really depends. But what I think is most important when you're shopping for wine is to find a wine store like yours with somebody who really curates what they have in the store, who will spend time with you, understanding what you like, and then translating that to what's on the shelf. And, sometimes it's trial and error. It doesn't always work perfectly the first time around, but the next time I come in, you're going to know what I like, my style, or I tell you what I'm going to make for dinner, and you can kind of lead me in the right direction.
Absolutely. And I think that's the most fun part of my job. I love being able to figure out people's palates without having tasted with them, just by what they can tell me. One of the easiest things is, you buy a couple bottles, take pictures of the wine that you like, especially if you can't remember what the name is. Please take pictures. We all have computers in our pockets now. It's going to be, if you take pictures of what you like, then I can gauge what else you're going to like, knowing that you liked that, and kind of get to know your palate that way if you're not drinking it. But yes, having that store that you can go to and trust, which is why I think we are a great niche in Cambridge, because that doesn't exist anywhere else in town. I'm pretty much always here when we're open. It's very rare that I'm not here. And people always ask me about the beer we have, because we have retail beer as well. They're like, oh, have you had this? Have you had this? I honestly don't taste any of the beer because there's only so much rent space up here and it's all reserved for wine. So
okay.
You're on your own with beer.
You're on your own. All right. Perfect. Well, since we already showed your namesake Nat Pinotage, that is going to be our red that we're tasting today. Or wait, Nutta, I believe is how you said we should pronounce this.
Yes, it's Nutta Filet. And
Nutta Filet, but on the front it just says Nat, but it is a Pinotage, which is the classic varietal, very specific varietal from South Africa.
So if you can hold up the label again, where it to us would say Nate Valage, that's actually how you pronounce it, Nutta Filet, in South African.
Okay.
So
love that.
Naturally fermented Pinotage. Of course, Pinotage is a cross between Cinsault and Pinot Noir. This particular one, I guess, do you want me to explain naturally fermented?
Yeah,
if you want
please.
to. Okay.
So if you've been hearing about natural wines, this is a natural wine. If
Yes.
you're looking to get into that.
So there are only wild yeasts used, not store-bought yeast, meaning it can be yeast found on the grape itself, yeast found on the equipment, the yeast found in the air. It adds a total kind of rogue feel. When I'm explaining it, I like to say, compare it to sourdough. Instead of using store-bought yeast for sourdough, you just use wild yeast, because it can be tricky. And you have to have a really good winemaker to be able to make it work out so it tastes good. So this wine is definitely geeky. There's also no added sugars or sulfites, only natural occurring during the fermentation process. So this is what I like to call healthy wine.
Okay, this is medicine right here.
Yes.
Well, it definitely has a lot of red and dark fruit on the nose.
Alike,
but you can tell it's got some really nice fruit, but also some earthiness, which I think is a natural wine thing. But it's not funky, people. That's the one thing that people that say they're not into natural wine will say it's too funky or barnyardy. This does not have that. This really smells fresh.
I will say that I opened it earlier today, and it did have a bit of barn on it. But for me, it was a lovely barn. It's blown off now. I've had this in the glass, I don't know, maybe 15, 20 minutes.
Okay.
So it has blown off entirely. But when I first opened it, I was like, ooh.
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, I mean, they do say in France about the wines of the Rhone Valley that the best ones smell like a chicken coop.
Yeah.
I don't know about that, but, many of the, greatest wines of the world have that sort of barnyard, old McDonald's farm. We could make other crass comments, but those are the kinds of, smells you may get in some of your red wines from all over the world,
It's a thing. I don't use them in tastings that we do here because people, the general public, doesn't understand it. But I think as well as I do, we did discuss what type of poop it smells like and tastes like, because it's a thing in the wine world, and it's not a bad thing at all. I wish I wish more people understood it.
Yeah, Love it.
Yeah, on the nose, like you said, both red and dark fruits alike. I get both red and black plum.
Mm-hmm.
And then a tiny bit of like Kalamata olive, just a tiny bit towards the end. Or maybe it's just a meaty note.
Yeah, no, I'm with you on that. And then I did take a little sip, and what I love is it has some really nice medium mouth filling and a little touch of a feel of tannin, but not overwhelming. But
Yes,
it seems like it has good acid to stand up to a lot of different foods as well.
that's what I like about this. And it can be a little confusing and maybe a little too geeky because there are tannins and acid alike.
Right.
But for me, this is a great wine to hold up to like a Pinot Noir drinker that doesn't want to go heavier than that. This will hold up to a rack of lamb because of the tannins that exist. So for me, I could drink this by itself.
It's delicious. And I almost feel like you could put a tiny, more of a chill on it.
Definitely.
Not a lot, but it does have that good fruit and, just cellar. Like I have a wine fridge just off here to the left. If I took this out at like 52, it'd be fine. And then it warms up as you're drinking it.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
I also
love this.
and like there's a little bit of woody herb. I can't tell exactly what it is right this second. I don't know if it's thyme or oregano, but that lends itself to a lot of food as well.
So we have 3 great wines under $20. I mean, under 19 for that matter. And all great for this time of year because this Pinotage, grilled meats, all those summer, things that we do, I could see this going with. And even to your point about Pinot Noir, maybe even a grilled salmon.
Absolutely. It's definitely light enough, but again, it has enough body to hold up to salmon, 100%. I was going to say grilled vegetables. You do a 1 tray grilled with anything. This is it. And easy enough to drink while you're grilling. Still has that slight chill on it. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And
I haven't had a ton of natural wines yet, but this one is promising.
But I'm glad you like it.
To love them or,
They are rogue. I think that, you need somebody to taste them for you first because I've had a ton that are, they taste like sour beer and don't want that. Not everybody wants that.
Right. Some people in our business can get a little crazy about describing wines. What's the craziest thing you ever heard?
The crazy descriptions, I think, are more what I read online than the people that are selling it. I have a really good relationship with all of our, as I like to say, corked works, who are my wine reps. Perfect. We work with 29 different distributors, and I'm pretty tight with all of them, and they know how real I am and that I will cut them down in a heartbeat if they say anything too cheesy. I think that for me, wine descriptions, and this is the difference in you and I, where I'm more of a customer base. What bothers me or what customers say. So if a customer were to come in and say, can I have the best Savvy B you have? Please don't call it Savvy B. It's a Sauvignon Blanc. We have lovely Sauvignon Blancs. Don't call it Savvy B. Even like, can I have the best Cab Sav you have by the glass? Well, there's no need for me to have 12 Cabernets on by the glass. So I only have one. Do I think it's good? Absolutely. But I guess just brief terms bother me more than anything. Far as, but I want to know yours because I bet yours is like.
Yeah, awesome. I mean, I almost feel like I try to say less because I've noticed, because I do a lot of consumer facing events as you do as well, with everyday wine lovers. I'm not doing classes for somms and other wine educators that, I think it's intimidating when you start labeling off 6, 8 different fruits that they're supposed to have smelled and tasted in the glass. I will try things like, instead of, kumquats and huckleberries, which I don't think I've ever tasted in my life, I will try to get people to say, what candy did you eat as a kid that you feel like you might smell in this glass? And then like with this rosé, like if they maybe get a hint of melon, maybe it's the Jolly Ranchers.
That's
exactly
what it was.
Fabulous. Or those little strawberry candies that had the wrapper that looked like it was a strawberry. I forget what those are called.
Church candies. Yeah.
Yes.
That comes up all. Twizzlers come up for us all the time.
Right.
When we did our Portuguese dinner, juicy fruit was on one of the Broncos that I had. It was all over the nose and the front of the palate, and it tasted just like juicy fruit gum.
Yes.
I agree. I love that.
Yeah, and people connect with that. They get excited about it. There's nothing intimidating about candy. Okay.
Yeah.
But so I almost, when I hear people that are in that old model of, this is medium bottom, clear, medium plus, acid, medium, that's kind of from our SOM training. You get that, medium plus acid, medium plus tannin, going through all the different earth, fruit, this and that. I mean, I feel like you've lost everybody already. So I really do cringe at that sort of old model. I feel like people want to see you having fun. What wines are going to be fun for them. They want to be engaged. Wine is about connection. Anyway, I think all three of these are delicious. So if you were getting off of work and going home, like you said, to watch a funny show or funny movie, what would be your after work pour that you would enjoy?
I mean, again, restauranting, I always tend to start cold because I've been working and talking to people, and I tend to suck it back kind of quickly. So I'd have to say Provence rosé right off the top of my head because it's easy, it's light, there's a little bit of salt usually. That any white from Puglia is probably my like I said, Italian area that I'm going right now. If I had to do red, it would be a Bartolino. I love Corvina, the grape, and Bartolinos are way less than Barolos or
Yes.
Brunellos. So,
Absolutely.
yeah, that would be it, I think. What about you?
Yeah, I think my go-to, I'm thinking of what I have in my fridge right now. So if
Yes, like
we're
what do
going
you
there from
keep
here,
in your fridge?
yeah, I have a dry Vouvray that I'm excited to try one of these evenings. I have a white from Planeta, the La Segreta blend. It's a Bianco from Sicily. So that I'm excited about.
Love Sicilian.
Always bubbly. I always have bubbly in there just in case I'm feeling a bubbly. And Gruet is kind of my go-to
Okay.
for like every day because it's just such a great value and so well made. Or a cava or a Spanish cava. So those,
I was going to say, Cava's definitely my go-to with bubbly.
Yeah.
Again, like you can find under 15 to 20 bucks. They're delicious and
nice.
very easy to drink. So may I ask one question of you?
Sure.
What is the last wine you had that you were embarrassed to tell people that you drank?
Well, sometimes if I'm grocery shopping and I normally will buy from an independent retailer like yourself, but sometimes I'm at the grocery store and I might need a bottle. So that can happen. But, and I don't know if it's super lowbrow, but Bieler from Provence makes a rosé and it's $11.99.
Okay.
It's their kind of starter. And that's a go-to for me as far as every day.
I'm not mad at that. That's not embarrassing.
Nah.
I was just going to say my kind of embarrassing thing that I do kind of on a regular basis, and my friends have caught on and my parents, and we all really enjoy it. We call them brewskis. It's not beer, but we make our own Lambrusco. So whatever sparkling white I may have open at the end of the night, obviously the sparkling doesn't hold from day to day, so I'm constantly drinking sparkling after service. If I just want to change it up a little bit, I look up at the light reds that I have open and throw a splash on top, and I make my own Lambrusco.
I love that. I'm going to have to tell my husband because he likes to put red wine and white wine, and he says he makes rosé. So it's the same kind of concept. I love this. Yeah. Well, no shame in that. You're just not wasting wine, which is a sin. Well, Natalie, I know everyone that's listening is going to want to come into Vintage 414 and visit you, buy some wine, enjoy some food, get your suggestions and recommendations. Tell folks how they can get in touch with you and when they can come see you at the restaurant.
So we are open Wednesdays through Sundays. Wednesdays 11 to 8, Thursday, Friday, Saturday 11 to 9, and Sunday 11 to 4. Closed Monday, Tuesday, which is when we're recording this. Cheers.
Yes,
For
cheers.
why it's been so quiet in the shop. But yes, come see us. We can help you with all your retail. Again, my business partner and our chef are classically French trained chefs in both their worlds, and our food is phenomenal as well.
Awesome. Well, Natalie, thank you so much for joining us. This has been a lot of fun. I'll post all the links to the wines, to Vintage 414.
All right. Well, thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. And yeah, this is awesome. This is a lot of fun. Cheers.
Yeah. Cheers.